Welcome back to Hopeful Horizon, where we bring you stories that uplift, inspire, and remind us of the power of respect and integrity. Today's story introduces us to Leroy, a proud veteran who visits an upscale restaurant to celebrate his birthday, only to be greeted with cold stares and unwelcome attitudes. But as fate would have it, Leroy's son Marcus is not only a successful businessman, he's also the owner of the very restaurant chain that turned his father away. What unfolds next is a powerful lesson in humility, justice, and the strength of family. Join us for a story of dignity, redemption, and an unexpected turn that changes everything. If stories of resilience and life's unexpected twists resonate with you, be sure to let us know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss an inspiring story from Hopeful Horizon. And tell us where you're listening from. We love hearing from our community. The restaurant stood proudly on a busy downtown corner, its facade gleaming with polished glass and ornate metalwork. Leroy Thompson looked at the establishment with a quiet admiration, a gentle smile forming as he adjusted his tie. It was his birthday, and he had chosen this particular restaurant for its reputation as one of the city's finest. Leroy had always admired fine dining, the ritual of it, and today felt like the right time to indulge. Dressed in his Sunday best, Leroy wore a navy suit that he'd kept pristine over the years, the shine of his leather shoes revealing his attention to detail. He stood tall, his posture a mark of the discipline he had maintained, even years after retiring from the military. His dark, weathered skin bore the lines of age and experience, and his kind eyes revealed a life marked by both hardship and resilience. As Leroy stepped through the glass doors, the warmth he expected from such a refined establishment was conspicuously absent. His entrance was met with a momentary hush, the hum of conversations halting as several patrons cast quick glances his way before looking away. Leroy noticed but dismissed it, focusing on his excitement for the meal he had long anticipated. A young, well-dressed man approached him, his name tag glinting with the name Bryce. Bryce Carter couldn't have been older than 30, his blonde hair neatly combed and his smile sharp yet faintly insincere. The air around Bryce hinted at entitlement, a quality that Leroy had encountered in younger men who hadn't yet learned humility. "Good afternoon," Leroy greeted warmly, extending his hand. Bryce looked at Leroy's hand but didn't shake it. Instead, he raised an eyebrow, giving Leroy a once-over that lingered too long. He took in Leroy's slightly worn suit, his calloused hands, and the military medals pinned to his lapel with a mix of curiosity and distaste. "Are you sure you're in the right place?" Bryce asked, his tone polite but laced with disdain. "We have a dress code and, well," he trailed off, smirking. Leroy, taken aback, smiled politely and nodded. "I was hoping to have a table for one. I'm here to celebrate a special day," he replied, his voice calm, though his heart stung at Bryce's implication. Bryce barely concealed his scoff. "You see, sir, we're a bit upscale. Maybe there's another place that might be more suitable for your occasion." Leroy took a deep breath, steadying himself. "I'm a veteran, young man," he said gently, hoping that this might spark some recognition of respect. Bryce's expression only grew colder. "Being a veteran doesn't mean you get a pass here," he replied, his voice low. "I think you'd be more comfortable somewhere else." Leroy swallowed hard, his pride and dignity warring with the hurt and anger that threatened to rise. He nodded politely, his shoulders still squared, and left the restaurant without another word. Outside, as he took a deep breath of the cold afternoon air, he felt both anger and sadness fill him. Today was supposed to be a celebration of his life and his years of service, yet he had been treated as if he didn't belong. Later that evening, Leroy sat quietly at home, sipping tea as he replayed the events of the afternoon in his mind. The bitterness of the memory lingered, but he tried to push it away, telling himself he was above such disrespect. His son, Marcus, had called him earlier, excited to hear about his father's special day. Leroy hadn't planned to share what had happened, not wanting to darken the day for his son, but as the phone rang again, Leroy's resolve softened. "Hey, Pop," Marcus's cheerful voice greeted him. "How was your day?" Leroy hesitated, forcing a chuckle. "Well, I did try that new restaurant I've been wanting to visit." "Oh, did you? How was it?" There was a pause, and Leroy felt the weight of the humiliation settle over him. "It was an experience, son," he replied, choosing his words carefully. "They didn't seem to think I was the right kind of patron for their establishment." Marcus went silent on the other end of the line. His voice, when he spoke, was calm but laced with an undercurrent of anger. "What happened?" Leroy recounted the incident with Bryce, downplaying the hurt, but still unable to hide the disappointment in his tone. Marcus listened quietly, his jaw clenched as he heard how his father had been humiliated in a restaurant that, unbeknownst to Leroy, was part of the chain he had recently acquired. "Pop," Marcus finally said, his voice tight, "you don't deserve to be treated that way. No one does, especially not you. I'm going to handle this." Leroy tried to object. "Marcus, don't do anything drastic. I'm all right. Just a little humiliated is all." But Marcus was resolute. "I won't do anything too drastic, Pop, but this man needs to know who he's dealing with." As he ended the call, Marcus felt a surge of anger. His father, a man of quiet dignity and unwavering kindness, had been made to feel small. He would make sure Bryce learned a lesson he wouldn't soon forget. The following week, Marcus made arrangements for his father to return to the restaurant. He explained the plan to Leroy carefully, reassuring him that this visit would be different. Leroy was hesitant, but he trusted his son, and the quiet encouragement in Marcus's voice gave him strength. Marcus would arrive separately, posing as an anonymous regional manager overseeing customer relations, leaving Bryce completely unaware of the trap being laid. On the day of their second visit, Leroy dressed in the same navy suit and polished shoes, his back straight with renewed determination. As he walked back through the restaurant doors, he held his head high, knowing that this time his experience would be different. Bryce spotted him instantly, his face curling into a smirk. "Oh, you're back," he said, his tone mocking. "Thought I made it clear this place might not be for you." Leroy took a deep breath, meeting Bryce's gaze with calm confidence. "I believe I have a right to enjoy a meal here, just like anyone else." Bryce laughed, a cold, humorless sound. "You really think you belong here? This place is for people of a certain caliber, not just anyone off the street." Just then, Marcus entered the restaurant, unnoticed by Bryce. He walked up to the front, his suit and demeanor blending seamlessly with the upscale setting. He waited, observing as Bryce continued to belittle his father. The look in Leroy's eyes was one of quiet resolve, an unyielding dignity that made Marcus's anger burn all the hotter. Bryce finally noticed Marcus, and his tone shifted. "Oh, welcome, sir," he said, plastering on a fake smile. "Can I help you?" "Yes," Marcus replied smoothly, his gaze icy. "I'm here for a review. I was recently appointed as the regional manager overseeing customer relations." Bryce's face blanched, and he fumbled with his words, unaware of Marcus's true identity. "Oh, yes, of course, sir. I'll have our best table ready immediately." Marcus held up a hand. "I'd like to see how you handle all guests, not just me." He gestured toward Leroy, who was watching quietly. "If you'd be so kind, I'd like to sit with this gentleman. I'd like to observe how you treat a military veteran." Bryce's expression faltered, and he stammered. "Oh, I didn't realize—" Marcus watched Bryce's face, knowing that the young manager was quickly beginning to realize the gravity of his actions. For now, Marcus let him squirm, signaling for a waiter to set the table for both himself and his father, subtly hinting that Bryce's behavior was under scrutiny. As they sat down, Bryce's nervousness was palpable, and Marcus shot him a look that left no doubt. This was far from over. As Marcus and Leroy settle into their meal, Bryce hovers nervously around their table, clearly trying to stay within earshot and impress Marcus. Oblivious to Marcus's connection to Leroy, Bryce attempts to charm him, thinking this regional manager holds sway over his career. Marcus, maintaining a calm and neutral tone, begins to ask Bryce about the restaurant's commitment to inclusivity and respect, his questions pointed yet seemingly innocent. "Tell me, Bryce, how does this restaurant treat veterans and people from all walks of life?" Marcus inquires casually, his tone masking the gravity of the question. Bryce stammers slightly, surprised by the directness. He forces a smile. "Oh, we treat everyone with respect here," he says, stumbling over his words. You know, customer is king, no matter who they are. Leroy, who's quietly watching, notes Bryce's hesitation, the flash of discomfort that flickers across his face. Marcus continues, letting the silence linger just a moment too long before his next question. Is that so? Marcus raises an eyebrow. So, no guest has ever been treated unfairly or made to feel unwelcome. Bryce shifts uncomfortably, glancing away. Of course not. We pride ourselves on, inclusivity, he replies, though his words ring hollow. It's clear Bryce is lying, but Marcus holds back, biting his tongue. He has to wait for the right moment. Bryce continues to dig himself deeper, making subtly derogatory comments about certain types of people who sometimes enter the restaurant and how they don't understand the refined atmosphere. Leroy remains silent, feeling the sting of Bryce's arrogance. Marcus's face remains impassive, though inside, his anger builds. He waits, knowing that Bryce is weaving a web of his own making, unaware of the full consequences he'll soon face. Finally, Marcus signals the waiter for the check, signaling the end of this uncomfortable, eye-opening meal. Bryce, still in the dark, believes he has succeeded in impressing the regional manager. As they leave the table, Marcus looks back at Bryce, who stands by with a smug grin, unaware of the storm about to break over him. After the meal, Marcus calls Bryce to their table, asking him to bring over the restaurant's policies on customer service. Bryce scurries over, eager to oblige, confident that he's left a favorable impression. As he hands the document to Marcus, he notices Leroy's confident demeanor, and a flicker of recognition crosses his face, but he brushes it aside, focused solely on pleasing Marcus. Marcus waits until Bryce is standing directly across from him, then looks up and speaks in a firm, resolute voice. Bryce, let me introduce you to my father, Leroy Thompson, he says, gesturing toward Leroy. The very man you turned away from this establishment, my establishment. Bryce's face drains of color, the realization hitting him like a ton of bricks. He stumbles back slightly, his mouth opening and closing as he struggles to form words. I didn't know, he mumbles, his bravado gone. Leroy looks Bryce in the eye, holding his gaze steady and calm, a quiet dignity radiating from him. He says nothing, allowing Marcus to take the lead. Not only did you insult my father, Bryce, but you demeaned a veteran, a man who has given more to this country than most of us could even imagine. And then, you had the audacity to lie to my face about treating everyone with respect. Bryce attempts to apologize, his words stumbling over each other in desperation. I didn't mean any disrespect. I had no idea he was your father, Mr. Thompson. I just... Marcus holds up a hand, silencing him. I don't care whether or not you knew who he was. Your prejudice, your arrogance, your complete disregard for a person's dignity, that's what I care about. His voice is controlled, but Bryce can hear the fury beneath. This restaurant was meant to honor my father's love for fine dining and his legacy. I've spent years building it up to be a place of respect and welcome, and in one night, you managed to shatter all of that. I can't allow someone like you to represent this place any longer. Bryce's voice is barely a whisper as he realizes the gravity of the situation. Please, Marcus. Mr. Thompson, I didn't know. I'm so sorry. The insincerity is palpable, and both Marcus and Leroy know that Bryce's words are nothing more than a feeble attempt to save face. I don't believe your apology is genuine, Bryce, Marcus says, his voice steely, and frankly, it's too little, too late. You're dismissed from your position here effective immediately. Bryce's face contorts in shock and fear, his eyes darting around the restaurant as he realizes that other staff members and several customers are witnessing his downfall. With his reputation and job in ruins, Bryce walks away in disgrace, his arrogance finally brought to a well-deserved end. The days following Bryce's dismissal bring a wave of change throughout the restaurant. Marcus personally oversees a series of training sessions, ensuring that every employee understands the values of respect, inclusivity, and humility that the establishment was founded on. He emphasizes the importance of treating all patrons with dignity, regardless of their appearance or background. Leroy's story becomes a catalyst for a newfound sense of purpose within the staff, many of whom express regret for not standing up to Bryce sooner. Marcus takes a special step to honor his father, introducing a new policy, a discount for veterans and active service members. A plaque is added near the entrance with a simple inscription, "In honor of those who serve and have served, we welcome you with gratitude." 1 week after Bryce's firing, Marcus invites his father for a celebratory meal at the restaurant. This time, Leroy enters with his head held high, warmly greeted by the staff, who now know who he is. There's a renewed energy in the air, a sense of respect that wasn't there before. As father and son sit down, the staff brings over their meals with a level of attentiveness and warmth that speaks volumes. Leroy's heart swells with gratitude as he realizes the impact of his son's actions. This restaurant is no longer just a place to eat. It's a testament to the values he instilled in Marcus and the legacy they're building together. As they enjoy their meal, several employees approach the table, expressing their appreciation and respect for Leroy's service. One young waiter, visibly moved, thanks Leroy personally, telling him how his story has inspired the entire team. Marcus leans back, watching his father's interactions with pride. He knows that the restaurant has become more than just a tribute. It's a beacon of respect and inclusivity, a place where every guest, from any background, can feel welcomed. Before they leave, Marcus and Leroy take a moment to stand by the plaque. Leroy touches it gently, his heart full of gratitude. "Thank you, son," he says quietly, his voice thick with emotion. Marcus places a hand on his father's shoulder, looking out over the restaurant that now reflects the very best of his father's values. "No, thank you, Dad, for everything. This is as much yours as it is mine." As they step outside, a gentle breeze brushes past them, and Leroy feels a profound sense of peace. He walks away from the restaurant, arm in arm with his son, knowing that they've set a powerful example, a legacy built on respect, dignity, and the unwavering strength to stand against prejudice. The restaurant will always stand as a place of welcome, a symbol of the integrity he's carried throughout his life, and the bond he shares with his son. Thank you for being with us for this incredible journey of redemption, respect, and change. Marcus's story reminds us that dignity knows no boundaries, and that standing up for ourselves can create a ripple effect that changes lives. It's a story of resilience in the face of prejudice and using newfound strength to create a better world for everyone. If this story moved you, please share your thoughts in the comments, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay updated on future stories. We're so grateful for each member of our community, and we look forward to sharing more stories that inspire, uplift, and make us reflect on life's bigger picture. Until next time, stay hopeful, stay kind, and always remember to stand for what's right.